Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the First Class Crew Fireside Chat, where we aim to elevate, empower, and get the bag, aka the job. I'm your host, Cami Simmons, and tonight I'm so happy to introduce the oh so talented anchor, reporter. She's also a talk show host, an author, and so many other talents that she has under her belt. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the one, the only, Miss Tyrah Majors. Welcome, Tyrah.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for that introduction. That was fabulous.
Yes, welcome. We are so happy to have you, and get right into everything that you are doing and continue to do.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. You pretty much just described me in a nutshell, all of my like thousands of jobs. I don't know how I do it, but really, they all started off as passions, not as jobs where I was making money. So that's kind of where it began. I mean, I've always liked to read and write as a young girl. I first started working in front of the camera as a young model, young actor, and then just from there, I decided I didn't really want to have that as a career. So I discovered a love for journalism in college, and that's kind of how things played out. But like I said, it all started off as passions and hobbies, things that I like to do for fun, and I figured why not make it a career as well.
All right. And also, you're an author.
Yeah.
So I would love if you could just talk about, I know you're a journalist, and as journalists, we write, in addition to being on the camera specifically for those broadcast journalists. But can you talk a little bit more about how you decided to include being an author into your brand? Because at the end of the day, you are a brand. So can you just kind of talk us through that?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. So I wrote a children's book. It's called Grammy and Me. It's about a young girl and her adventures with her grandma. And it just focuses on family values and the importance of quality time. And it kind of just goes back to that, being a young child in school. My favorite subject was always English. It was always the reading part of the day. And I used to make up short stories in my journal, um, you know, whether they were fiction or maybe I was writing about my day, but it goes back to writing. And so Grammy and Me is based on my personal experiences with my great grandma. And she passed away in 2014. I was a freshman in college. And so I decided one day in class, not paying attention to my math teacher, but that I would write my memories down with about my grandma and I. And that turned out sounding like a children's book. I took it home, read it to my family, and I was like, I just wrote these memories down. And they were like, this sounds like a book, like you should pursue it. And from there, things took off. I didn't like set out on being an author. It just kind of worked out that way. But it's been so amazing, just the journey, having this children's book. Not only did it help me with like my personal grieving process and losing my great grandma, who I was so close to, but it's my part to give back now. Reading is so important, and so is family time. So when I'm reading my book to little kids, and if I hear them say, "Oh, I do that with my grandma too," or when they find any little pieces of the book that they can relate to, that is so fulfilling and just rewarding to me, knowing that I'm giving back in that way.
Oh, that's so special. And thank you just for sharing about the story, behind writing your book, which I think is important, especially, as journalists. I think people forget that we're humans as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course, that's the point.
Yeah, so we're going to pivot. We're going to switch gears here really quick. I want to talk briefly about how it goes down behind producing, right? You're on camera, the glitz, the glam, um, you know, the show must go on, right? Everybody doesn't see what goes on behind the camera, especially as an on-air anchor and reporter. So I want you to talk about the work of it all, from creating the questions to coming up with the actual angle of the story that you're maybe creating a story package. Can you talk a little bit more about what is the thinking behind all of that? Because I think sometimes, including our members on here, they may not know all of what goes down.
For sure. And you brought it up, glitz and glam. It is not all glitz and glam behind the scenes and working in news, and you know that yourself. Um, it's a lot of work. It's hard work. Every role in the newsroom is different, but we all, are putting in the work. It's a grind. I remember starting out as a morning reporter. I had my first job at the CBS Fox affiliate in Bakersfield. And as a morning reporter, I mean, you're finding your own stories or you're either covering breaking news. I'll give an example. Okay, let's say there's breaking news. Let's say I'm sitting in the newsroom and all of a sudden we hear on the scanners, like there's a fire at this house and a couple of people are trapped inside. I'm just making up a story. Then it's my job. Okay, let me make some phone calls. Let me see if I can get in touch with the public information officer of the fire department. Let me get in touch with maybe a neighbor. Let me go down there to the house with my photographer, if I have one, and see if I can talk to witnesses, see if I can talk to the family who was involved. I mean, it is a grind. It's a lot of legwork you have to do before the glitz and glamour part, put on my lipstick, get on camera, and present the news. I have to know all the facts. I have to do the research. If it's a story that I'm pitching myself, let's say I want to do a story on, I don't know, a woman who is, I'll give an example of the most recent story I'm working on, a woman who's crocheting warm hats for people who are homeless ahead of the winter season. I have to do my research on her. I have to do my research on why she wanted to do this. I have to do my research on the homeless population here in Seattle. There's just a lot of work that goes into that process before I even start the glamorous part, which is like the filming and the presenting the news and like picking up my outfit to wear in the story. Like all that stuff is so minor compared to the groundwork you have to do beforehand. So it's like I said, it's a grind. Every day is different. Behind the scenes, no day is perfect. Lots of malfunctions, wardrobe malfunctions, microphone errors, technical difficulties. I deal with technical difficulties probably every day. And if it's on air and it's live, then the only thing I can do is be transparent with the viewer and say, technology's not on my side today. Like, we just gotta roll with the punches, you know? That's show business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go with the flow. Even if you mess up, you keep going.
Like when Beyonce is performing and she falls on stage, she doesn't quit the show. She gets back up and continues dancing and singing.
Right.
I kind of feel it that way.
And also, can you talk a little bit more about your thought process behind coming up with some unique questions, especially when you're working with other producers, and just how that process works for those who may not be aware of it, or even for those who are looking to get better at coming up with really insightful, thought-provoking questions?
Well, it starts off with research. That's how I always form my questions. If I don't know about a certain subject, I research this person or a particular subject from the top to the bottom. And if there are gaps in that research, let's say I'm interviewing, I love Beyonce, I'm going to use her as an example again. Let's say I'm about to interview Beyonce magically. I've done all the research about her online already. I have scanned through her Wikipedia page. I have watched other interviews, but maybe there's still something I did not find out about Beyonce. I just try to find those gaps when I think about the people I'm interviewing or the subject. So like, what did I not learn about Beyonce throughout all that research? And then I ask those questions. I also try to think about the viewer. Okay, who is watching? What are they going to care about? What are they going to want to know? You know? So I think about the viewer, and then I think about my own curiosity, because if I'm curious about it, chances are the people watching are also going to be curious too. So I always like to remind myself, I try to stay curious as a journalist. Stay curious, always wonder about things, no matter what it is. You'll come up with questions that way.
Yeah, and speaking of curiosity, sometimes not only in journalism, but in any job, the day-to-day, the 9 to 5, it could get a little mundane. You know, I want to be real with some people who are tuning in. How do you stay energized to be curious and to just keep that energy of being an on-air host? Because with any job, like I said, it could get mundane. So just tell me, how does Tyrah, keep her curiosity flame going?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't have an average 9 to 5 shift. I do work a full 8 hours a day, but since I'm on the early morning shift, my hours are wild. I start at 3:30 a.m. and then I leave at 12 p.m. And it's hard. I mean, that is not a normal sleep schedule. So how to stay energized, aside from drinking coffee, I just kind of remind myself why I'm doing it every day. Why am I waking up this early every single day to do this job? No matter what industry you're in, I always give people this advice is to know your why. Know why you want to do something, because that'll just make the journey so much easier. Like on those days where you feel like giving up, just remind yourself, who are you doing it for? What are you doing it for? For me, it goes back to giving back. And also it's just, this has always been my passion, something that's made me happy. I can't see myself being happy in a different job. So those days where I do not want to get out of bed, if I'm unmotivated, I'm just like, okay, Tyrah, keep your mindset on the end goal. Keep your mindset on being happy and being happy in this job. So I just kind of stay positive.
Yes, love that. And then let's talk about your brand, because branding has a lot to do with it, in addition to all of the work that goes behind it. I think you do an awesome job of this, Tyrah, on, your Instagram, bringing people behind the scenes, on your social media, continuing to engage with audience and also your social media followers. So what would you say is your brand, and how do you achieve, that brand?
Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, I try to stay authentic as much as I can. So I try to show, my viewers or my followers, like, what is really going on in my life, my brand. And there's one thing I'll say about having a brand, is that you don't have to have it figured out right away. I still feel like I'm developing my brand, and I learn new things about myself in every job I have or every story I tell. And then my brand kind of transforms periodically. So my brand right now are all those things you mentioned. I mean, it's being an author, being a content creator, being a journalist. What does that look like? What kind of person does that? Well, I am ambitious. I like to tell stories. So when I think about my brand, curating my brand, I just piece together all those little nuggets and make it into one. Let's see, how am I trying to say this? When people visit my Instagram page, I want them to think of a few words when they see my page. Authentic is one of them. Boss woman is another. Entrepreneur, like having that entrepreneurial, ambitious spirit. And then once again, storyteller. So I think, if you want to define like 3 words, maybe to describe yourself, and then curate your brand around those 3 words, it'll probably work well in your favor.
All right. Well, I hope you all are taking down some notes. Hope you're, catching all these gems. And then also, I want to show you all an example of Tyrah's work, because it wouldn't be show business if we didn't show you, some of the work that Tyrah has done. And so we're going to take a look at her television reel, and then we're going to come right back.
Forget blindly sending out demo tapes hoping an executive would notice you. This device has changed all of that. And this morning, Amazon is blocking 10 billion listings suspected of peddling counterfeit goods. That's up 67% just from last year alone. Dogecoin, you may have seen it on social media or heard about it through your friends, talking about how much money they've either made or hope to make. But what's the big deal? Take a look at this. This was a 5-car collision, and only cars getting by in the far right shoulder. And yes, it is very wet out there. Now, we did just get some pictures from the scene. I'm going to step out of the way. Definitely a winter wonderland out here. I mean, it's freezing. I did lose a glove, but I'm hanging in there. But you can see the snow is building up. Take a look at this. There's a lot of snow. Not only am I a lobster, but we got some surf and turf. We are a delicious meal for Halloween. Passengers just on their way to the Bay Area from Southern California this morning probably would have never thought a gunman to open fire while they were riding on the bus. You can see multiple cars there blocking the center lane. It looks like they may have all rear-ended each other. Now, this is the same area as the very first crash. Zoom in here, but back to you.
No, zoom in. Do it. Zoom in, Steve.
It's okay, Tyrah. I had
get in there.
cilantro in my teeth earlier.
Don't, Steve.
Don't. There it is. There it is, Steve. Good job. Nice. Look at that.
How are you going to continue to break these barriers?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is continuing to tell these stories.
TikTok blew up during the pandemic, and so did local creators. But Dr. Daniel DeLucchi, not gaining fame for viral dances or comedy, but for educational help. BPD did detain a lot of protesters that were protesting that night. I do have one of them here with me right now. This is Israel Crossweight, 20 years old. You're from Bakersfield. I mean, you're in great spirits this morning. How are you feeling? But it's light outside. We actually saw over these mountains, there are homes just directly behind these now charred hillsides.
All righty. So
It's weird watching yourself.
I know.
I'm just laughing over here.
Can you talk a little bit more about the whole journey of, because creating a television reel is a journey. Can you talk a little bit more about what that process has looked like for you just as you continue to get more experience? Like you said, you started out in Bakersfield, now you're in Seattle, Washington. Just give us your thoughts on just, always growing that television reel.
Yeah, creating a reel is probably like the most nerve-wracking thing because you don't know what people are gonna like. So I usually start by choosing the clips I like. And then of course I seek feedback from my mentors, whatever. But the thing about asking for feedback and opinion is that everybody's going to have something different to say. It is so subjective. So I'll show one person that reel, and they may say, I think you should put the fire thing before the chicken wing, or I think you should put the traffic segment before the Amazon story. And it's just like, okay, well, who do I listen to at the end of the day? So I go with my gut feeling. And I also just, the way I structure my reel is I choose whatever looks like the best TV. What's the most entertaining TV? What's most memorable? I also look at energy. I look at appearance because that, unfortunately, is important in this industry. If you're going to be on TV, a lot of people, they're going to judge and see how you look. So I take those things, energy on camera, appearance, and also there's a ton of other things. How does my voice sound? What am I saying? Is it just like pointless? So like watching that back, I'm like, okay, maybe that doesn't need to be in my reel. Like, what did that person gain from seeing that? I'm looking at me asking Andre a question, and I'm like, should that really be in my reel? Like, it just shows that I'm interviewing a celebrity, but is that really showcasing my talent? I don't know. I'm gonna probably reassess that now. So I just think about all those things. Like, is this important information? How's my energy? How do I sound? How do I look? What is most memorable though? What is good TV? Whatever is good TV, put that at the forefront of your reel because people are only going to stick around for the first 30 seconds or so. That's at least what I've been taught from multiple mentors. So I just pick the most captivating stuff up front and then let everything else trail behind.
Okay. And do you edit your own reels, Tyrah, or do you actually get a professional editor? Like, what are your thoughts behind that? And what are some of your tips and advice to those who may be, creating their first reel,
I think it's a personal preference. So I love to edit. I've always liked to edit, even before I joined a news station and learned how to edit with a news station. I used to always be on Adobe Premiere or iMovie or like, what are the other ones? Final Cut Pro. So I edit my own reels so I enjoy it. But I have tons of friends in the industry who have agents who make their own reels or who hire professional editors to make their reels. If you know how or you can teach yourself, then go for it. Edit your own because, that's free. But if you, want that professional opinion and you don't feel too confident in making your own, then like definitely seek outside help.
All right. Some good advice that Tyrah is sharing here on the First Class Crew. Now we're going to switch another gear. We're going to turn around here and talk about your talk show, Major Moves. So I wanted to show a couple or one clip, and then we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about what Major Moves is and just like how Tyrah decided to include this in her brand. So
for sure. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. Let me see. I promise you, I know how to do this. Okay.
All right.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Perfect. I'm going to press play.
This is Lexie Denali, the 24-year-old CEO and founder of LD Los Angeles, a SoCal swimwear line made for those who embrace their inner goddess. With the use of numberless sizing and sustainable materials, this line is breaking barriers. She is making major moves.
Major moves.
Hello, everyone. Major Moves with Tyrah Majors. This is the show where people are highlighted for doing major things. Today's guest is Lexie Denali. She is the creator and founder of LDLA. LDLA is a swimwear brand. Tell me about that. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Yes.
Is that where I stop it?
Yes. That's
okay. Cool. I was looking at it.
No worries.
Stop sharing screen. Okay.
Yes, so as you all saw there, that is Tyrah's own brand. That's her Major Moves talk show. So, Tyrah, let's talk about how you decided to become the producer and host of Major Moves and how this has been a part of your brand and how you continue to incorporate this into the kind of work that you produce.
Yeah, so Major Moves is actually something I started in college. That clip you all just saw was from grad school. I actually started producing the show professionally and officially when I was in grad school at USC. They had a talk show set there that I completely took advantage of. But Major Moves first came to mind in undergrad at Cal State Fullerton. My last name is Majors, so people would always like see me across campus and be like, "Oh, Major Moves, like Major Moves." They started calling me Major Moves because like I had my book out at the time and I had a couple internships in broadcast. So my friends would hype me up and be like, Major Moves. So I got to give credit to them, honestly. But I figured, why not highlight other people making major moves? Because like I'm just one person and there are a ton of other people doing major things that are, you know, in the same age as me or maybe come from the same background or different background. So that's kind of how Major Moves started, just highlighting the millennial person who's making major moves. And I specifically focus on entrepreneurs, people who have their own businesses. So Lexie in that episode, she had her own swimwear line. I've interviewed pair of girls who had their own wine business. I interviewed a guy who made his own app. So just people doing major things. And it's currently on hiatus right now just because I've been transitioning into this new role here at Como in Seattle. But Major Moves is coming back. I think it's very important to have your own personal brand outside of your day-to-day job. Like First Class Crew, it's awesome to have your own thing on the side that's aside from your, you know, your full-time gig. It's my passion project. And I think no matter what industry you're in, having a passion project is so important because it gives you a break just from the day-to-day job, but also it's like a backup plan, or maybe it's your forefront plan. It's just a good idea to have multiple gigs, multiple things going for yourself because you never know what may happen. So just have something to fall back on that you love doing as well.
All right. And for those who are just joining us, we're sitting down here on the First Class Crew fireside chat with the also talented Tyrah Majors, who is a author. She's also a reporter, an anchor, a talk show host of Major Moves, and she's joining us here tonight. So if you haven't already, be sure to chime in. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Give us a shout out of where you're representing. And also, if you have any questions or comments, you can put that in the comment section below as well, because we are going to get some questions answered very shortly. So really quick here, Tyrah, I want to talk about what's next. I know you have an interest in entertainment and lifestyle, but you're currently reporting and creating packages and also doing a little bit of traffic anchoring, which has been really interesting to see you in that role as well. Can you talk a little bit more, if you want, about just like where you see yourself going, you know, in the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, I would love to just keep going with this momentum. Like, I love being versatile. So I love, like you said, doing feature and lifestyle stuff. That's not an end all for me. I love, traffic anchoring has been very new, but it's helped me with my skill set so much. It's all ad-libbing. There's no script at all. So just brushing up on like my breaking news and all that, that's been awesome. Love reporting out in the field. And I also like fill-in anchoring. So far I've done every job in the newsroom except for weather. I would definitely like to train with the weather system down the line, but ultimately looking at an end goal, would love to have my own talk show. But I'd also love to keep doing all these roles just on a larger scale, you know, just keep climbing to the top. The sky's the limit for me and everyone else. So I can't say that I know what that end goal is yet, but I have an idea of what that looks like. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future, just to keep building off of what I've already built.
Amazing. And like I said, we have questions here from a couple of folks who have been tuning in. And one person from Facebook, they said, do you plan on writing another children's book? Is that in the cards?
Yes, hi. I am writing other children's books. I'm currently working on the second one. It's kind of like the sequel to Grammy and Me. This will be Papa and Me, about a young child and their adventures with their grandpa. So the plan is to turn it into a series, all based on family values and quality time. So thanks for asking.
All right. And then also, we had another question for folks who are interested in entertainment lifestyle who don't want to go local per se. What are your thoughts on that? And maybe you could give us some insight, just you also having that interest, like how you decided to go local and how you have benefited from that, even though you want to do lifestyle and entertainment long term.
I wouldn't say that's what I want to do long term. It definitely was something that I was wanting to do when I was in college. I was so focused on being an entertainment reporter, which is so great. I mean, it's so fun. But when I got my local news job in Bakersfield, that's when I was like, okay, there's just so much more to storytelling than doing like red carpet interviews. I had so much fun doing that, and I still like doing it. But I decided for myself, you know, there were other, I guess, purposes, that I would like to fulfill. So covering all those breaking news stories in Bakersfield, covering the human interest stories that make people cry or make people emotional or feel fuzzy inside. I mean, I just kind of developed a passion for many other things. So I will say, if you know you want to focus on entertainment or sports, or maybe you want to focus on politics, I would just say don't focus on that one thing. Try other things out too, because you just never know what you may like. It's kind of hard for me to give advice on how to break into the entertainment lifestyle scene, but I will say everyone has a different path. Create your own brand on YouTube. Maybe go to a local news station and pitch those entertainment stories so that becomes like your beat at that station. You know, get an internship with an entertainment network or something like that. Talk to mentors, network, talk to other people in positions that you aspire to be in, and get advice from them and see how they did things. Just remember, like, everyone's path is different.
All right. And I just want to thank you again, Tyrah, for just taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy woman. So thank you so much for just taking the time to come on First Class Crew. Yes.
This was so fun. Thank you so much, Tammy, for having me. I love this platform, and I love how you are helping other people. That's what it's all about, helping other people.
Yes. And where can folks find and follow you and just stay up to date with all that you're doing?
Yes. Any social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. It's at Tyrah Majors, first name, last name. That's it. Just very plain and simple. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And we will see you all next time. You can also come to Media Monday, which you all know we have on Clubhouse. And we will see you guys later. Have a good night.
Bye. Bye, Tammy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.